The meeting will be starting in a couple minutes. Ready?
Yeah.
Okay. 6:30, I'd like to call the February meeting of the Benton Area School Board to order. Start with roll call, Missy.
Mr. Knaus,
Here.
Ms. DeYoung, Mr. Griffith,
Present.
Mr. Hess,
Here.
Mr. Lubinsky,
Here.
Mr. Osborne,
Here.
Mr. Vogt,
Here.
Mr. Wolf,
Here.
Mr. Yoder.
Here. Thank you. Continue on with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Mission is to provide an excellent education in order to maximize the potential of all students, prepare them to meet the challenges of work, life, in an ever-changing world. I am not aware of any speakers for tonight, Missy. Am I correct? Okay. Move on then. Again, this is a Zoom meeting, and it is being recorded. One other general announcement. The district is anticipating a possible board vacancy in the near future, Region 1, which is Benton Borough, Jackson Township. If anyone is interested in applying, please watch our website for the vacancy posting. Anybody on the current board has a friend or somebody they know that's interested, please make them aware of this. If this vacancy does occur, we will need to appoint a new assistant board secretary. They might be thinking amongst us here who might be interested in assuming that position. Okay. Again, since this is going to be a Zoom meeting, especially for the benefit of the public, I would ask that we use the procedure we've been talking about. If you want to speak, raise your hand. I will call upon you. You'll have the floor. When you get done or someone else wants to make a comment, please do the same thing. I will announce who is speaking so the listening public knows who's commenting and who's talking. They can't see it on the screen. Okay. I'll continue on with the approval of the minutes. I will need a motion and a second that the minutes of the following meetings be approved. January 18th, 2021, regular monthly Zoom meeting. We'll go voice vote. All those in favor, yes?
Yes.
All those opposed, no? Minutes are approved. We'll move on then for the opportunity for visitors to address the agenda. If you want to make a comment at this time, please limit it to agenda items. Limit your comment to 3 minutes. Please state your name and your address for the record. And if you are listening remotely, if you can't raise your hand, then just say, I'd like to say something, and I will call upon you. I can see who's listening. Okay. All right, continue on with the business manager's report. The treasurer's report. I will need a motion and a second that the board summary report dated January 31st, 2021 be accepted and filed for audit. You have attachments on your computer to explain that report.
So moved. Second.
Do we have any discussion on the treasurer's report? Actually, we'll go to a roll call vote then.
Mr. Knaus?
Yes.
Mr. Griffith?
Yes.
Mr. Hess?
Yes.
Mr. Lipinski?
Yes.
Mr. Osborne?
Yes.
Mr. Boat?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Mr. Yoder?
Yes.
Okay, the treasurer's report is accepted. Moving on to the approval of bills. Again, I will need a motion and a second to approve payment of the following bills. 1/19/2021 to 2/8/2021. Check numbers 87397 to 87477. Again, you have attachments on your computer.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion on the bills or any questions?
I had a question, just about one of them. It was the Keezer's service purchase. Is that just I know it shows up on our bills, but is that a teacher or a staff member buying back years of credits? I mean, that's how I'm familiar with it.
It is, but it's the employer's side of us paying in for that time.
Oh,
So
okay.
the staff member bought back that time,
So
and
we
we
just
have to
put
pay
into
our
that?
contributions. That's
Okay.
it. Yep.
Sounds good, thank you.
Any more questions or discussion? Okay, we'll move to a roll call vote then.
Mr. Griffith?
Yes.
Mr. Hess?
Yes.
Mr. Lipinski?
Yes.
Mr. Osborne,
Yes.
Mr. Vogt,
Yes.
Mr. Wolf,
Yes.
Mr. Yoder,
Yes.
Mr. Knaus.
Okay, the bills are approved. We'll move on then to the superintendent's report, Mr. Gephardt. Come up,
Sure, I'll come up to take you here.
So my report tonight mostly focusing on our plans moving forward. Just to recap, we have been back in to 2-day-a-week in-person learning on a sort of hybrid schedule in the elementary, K to 6, for the past couple weeks. We've had some weather challenges, but hopefully you'll get a full weekend. Well, until this week, hopefully. We'll see what the weather does tonight. We're keeping an eye on that. But so it's been very successful. It's been pretty well received. We've had a lot of comments, a lot of very positive input from the community. I don't know how many parents that I've seen in the line standing outside that have just thanked us for giving an opportunity for the kids. Even the 2 days a week has been very beneficial for the students that have been back in, just that sort of sense of belonging, a little bit more direction. The only challenge has been that some of our students who have come back in for those 2 days then think those are the only 2 days they have to do anything. So we gotta, work through that a little bit with some of them and keep them a little bit more on track. So there's a couple favorable circumstances I think have changed since our last meeting. The numbers seem to be starting to trend down a little bit. Those are the reports that we get through the IU. Those numbers are looking more favorable. The other big thing, I think, maybe a bigger thing for staff confidence and people feeling better here about not being a sort of a spreading area, is that we were half lucky and half good, I think, working with the IU. We've had more than half of our staff get their first doses. On the 15th, which is next Monday, would be most of our staff is scheduled. I think there are a few scheduled on the 16th, but almost everyone, over 50 people, are scheduled for their second dose of the vaccine.
Also, first dose is that day?
No. Now there's still opportunities coming up for people who weren't able to take advantage, but it will be better than half our staff the way it looks. Better than half the faculty and staff will get their second dose. There are some other opportunities. We do have some other people who unfortunately had some, exposure to COVID, whether they had it or they were advised not to get it. That's ranged from 30 to 90 days, depending on which doctor has given them advice on not to get it yet. And that's a whole host of different reasons, but several of them, the indication is that the doctors believe that they have some antibodies because of their exposure, and the likelihood of getting it again is, it seems more minimal. Not that they're vaccinated, they still have to get vaccinated. But I think those two things combined, when we look at it, now, if we get that many people with their second dose, we're hearing a lot of stories about the sort of the second dose sickness in a day or so. I wouldn't anticipate the 16th, 17th. We would be virtual if we had to call it off because we just don't have the staffing. Sometimes people can work at home when they don't feel good, but that might not be realistic, depending on if people get sick or not. We had a few people the first time for the first vaccine, anything from a sore arm, which I had a sore arm, I tell you, it was like a little cellulitis or something there. I had a bump. We had somebody else that had a real reaction, like their whole arm. 2 people had like a real reaction. And we had a few people that actually felt sick, that actually were not up to par the next day. Everyone's recovered. Everyone feels fine. Everyone's ready for the second dose. So I do anticipate 16th, 17th, we'll be looking at that, see how people feel after their second dose. But really, the way I look at it, after that, we're talking coming into the next Monday, the 22nd, we're sort of running out of, I wouldn't say excuses, but real reasons to stay closed at this point, especially when we look at other schools in the area. I think when we have that much of our staff when we practice all the things that we practice, and they've almost become second nature. When we look at the volume in the elementary school, now granted, it's reduced by half because we're doing it every other day. Really, the kids that are left out now are the junior high and high school kids. And I'm concerned about mostly junior high kids, quite frankly. I mean, some of them are not keeping up. I think our teachers are doing an admirable job trying. But until we open the doors, I don't know how we're going to get to them. And I think we've done everything safety-wise. We'll continue to do everything safety-wise. When you add in this next real preventative measure of that volume of our staff being vaccinated, I think, on the 22nd or somewhere around there, we really have to consider just opening the doors. And if people do not want to send their child, we are more well-equipped. We are better at remote than we've ever been. We've made some adjustments. We made some of those adjustments in November. We've made a couple more since to dedicate some teachers more to just that. That's been beneficial in the last few weeks. We've seen an uptick in some of that involvement. And so I think at this point, that's where we are. And I stand behind the decisions that we made along the way. I appreciate the lively discussions that this board has had and the time and involvement that everybody's put into this. We closed for absolutely the right reasons. We followed the science. It turned out to be right. Those numbers were there. And we follow the science now, and you look at this amount of people being vaccinated and the numbers trending downward, I think this is the next proper move. And really got to get the kids back at some point. I don't know going further out where the next line would be that would make sense to make that call to open back up. And again, full masks, social distancing, back to the schedules that we were running at the beginning of the year. I would expect that the student population in the elementary will probably remain exactly the same, except for it would be every day. So our numbers would be a little bit less than they were in November. I would expect the high school, probably 75% or so. There are definitely some people, there's some upperclassmen that have been doing great. They've been doing a great job. They've kept on their stuff, and that's between them and their parents, if they want to continue down that path or not. But I would hope that we could get our junior high numbers back in pretty strong, because that's where I see a bigger need. That said, I know a lot of high school parents want their kids back in too. And so that's where I'm at with it. Again, that's sort of my report. It's more of the recommendation. Carl had asked me to meet with administration. We met last week. We discussed it in detail. We discussed hybrid options. We discussed trying to sort of reinvent the wheel a couple different ways, how we could break it apart. And what it comes down to is, at this point, I think we can open our doors, give the choice back to the families and parents, and we can manage it in a healthy, safe, and effective way. And I also think, I want to be clear, because this came up. I've had discussions with parents. There's an idea out there that the teachers have tried to stop us from opening. That is absolutely not the case. I think PSEA, as a larger union, just like many unions in the state of Pennsylvania, have taken the stance that they want the safest possible conditions for their membership. The safest possible condition for their membership is probably remote learning. But they have in no way, shape, or form. The Benton Area Education Association has not tried to stop us from coming back in. Our teachers are here today meeting with parents. And I think if you walk through the hall and talk to any one of the teachers, they would much rather do what they were trained to do, have the kids in front of them, and work through whatever challenges with a smaller population remotely. So I'd like to dispel that rumor. That was absolutely not the case. We have had zero pressure from the Benton Area Education Association to remain closed in any way. I will say that the Benton Area Education Association has expressed gratitude to the board and to administration for working with them to try to find the safest path as we work through this. So there's a mutual appreciation there. This has not been any sort of demand from the union or the larger union in Wilkes-Barre or at the state level. They have not done that. So that's where I'm at. That's my recommendation, and that's pretty much my report. I would say there's a caveat to this. This can change tomorrow. This is what I'm saying today. This is what we would like to plan for. This is the direction we'd like to go in to try to do that by the 22nd. But, you know, who knows? Tomorrow, if the case counts shoot through the roof and the state does it, it is, honestly, this has been a day-by-day thing this whole time. Even when we had a short-term plan, it's still day by day. So I don't want to promise anybody that we would open on the 22nd. I think that's the goal to shoot for, and that's what we'd like to work towards, with sort of the board's blessing. You know, that's what we'd like to do. All right?
Are we fully staffed in housekeeping?
Yeah. Do we have any shortages in housekeeping right now? Custodial? 2 during the day. Well, that's our standard, but we can adjust.
Just saying, it's just something that we need to make sure that we have, you know, the proper procedures going forward with that.
I think one of the big things that's helped there is those electrostatic sprayers and some other things that the gym invested in to try to speed up sort of a mass sterilization. And, you know, that makes us feel a little bit better. I think they've always done a nice job. I just think we have a heightened sensitivity to it, which is probably a healthy thing.
What are some of the triggers that would stop us from coming in?
What would stop us from coming in, if the case count spiked like crazy in the county, I think that's a consideration. We have followed that this whole time. So that's one thing. Cases within the district, obviously, you know, if we had a little cluster of 3 or 4, a local district where I just heard just had like 4 cases, but that led to the 4 cases that I think they're aware of directly led to 11 more quarantines from what I heard. I just heard this a few hours ago. So that's obviously something that it shuts you down, you know. Now, hopefully those 11 people in quarantine aren't really ill. They can teach remotely. We would just switch back to remote model. We have the ability to do that now. That would be easy to do, honestly. It would just, I think if you watch, it's funny. It always used to be, you know, you watch the news in the morning. I mean, my day starts at 4:30 or 5, making calls and back and forth, and all the superintendents in the area here actually, you know, we all communicate about who's doing what, so that we know it's just a little consistency and try to see what people are thinking. But if you watch news, watch 16 or something in the morning, there never used to be remote day, virtual learning day. You know what I mean? All these things are new this winter. That never happened before. It was 2-hour delay or school's closed. That's all it was. Now you see people moving in that model, and every school's had to adapt and do it. So we have the ability to do that as well.
Is all our adjoining school districts full-time right now?
They're different models. There's some hybrid models where there are kids going every other day or 2 days, and then the day off, 2 days, doing it at different levels. Some are doing that virtual at high school, doing that in the elementary. Some have given choice and they've been back and forth. Some are trying to go mostly 4 days a week. Well, it seems like a common thing, but they're using other type of days, the flexible instruction days, or I know Central Columbia is using fair days. So when the fair was canceled, they stayed in school and then they applied those days. So they don't go on Mondays, and there's no school on Mondays, but there hasn't been for the last month or so, or however many weeks that equated to for them. I guess 5 weeks would be the logical thing. So everybody's a little bit different. Like I said, my understanding is one of our neighbors is closing down because of reacting to an issue. They were trying to be in and they were a little split. So it's a little all over the place, but most of the other high schools are offering more in-person instruction at some level than we have been. Yes.
How many teachers do you feel were still not afforded the shot that still wanted?
Everyone was offered.
Offered.
Everyone was offered. Yes. So there were a few people who they're just not going to take it, and that's absolutely their right. But we offered it to everyone, and there was an opportunity for everyone.
So approximately half of the faculty.
Yeah.
Accepted the shot when you had it in presence.
Mhm.
and half of the staff did also. So we could assume that 50% of the people that are now in this building as adults
Yes.
will be vaccinated by,
The 15th, a handful on the 16th.
and then the week, they would have a week to
Right.
build that immunity. So pretty much everybody in the staff, faculty, staff that wants to be vaccinated has been vaccinated.
Yeah. And I'm actually particularly proud of that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I really am. And I'm very, I would like the public to know that the CSIU was instrumental in helping us to do that. And we also worked with Guy Singer directly. And I always say this, beauty of being a small school. There were enough extras that we as a small school were able to take advantage of it.
Now, as far as the 6 foot, we would be able to handle the 6 foot distancing in the elementary. Is it still an issue at the secondary level?
I think it would be better. I would say 95% of the time that 6 foot was, well, you see the cafeteria still set up for that. We modified a lot of stuff to make sure that happened. We were a little crowded in a few places. Every once in a while, there'd be 1 or 2 extra kids somewhere. But for the most part, that was adhered to and policed by the teachers in the hallways and things. I do anticipate we'll have a lower volume students returning though, which would help us do that easier. So yes, yeah.
So we could work on trying to keep the distance to 6 foot.
Yeah.
In
Well, no,
the-
that's still the rule, and that's absolutely the rule that we were adhering to, and we were policing throughout the fall. And those same things, the same protocol would be in effect, and masks.
So with that said, are we still insubstantial?
I believe so. Yes.
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 So we're trying to follow the protocols the best of our ability, even knowing that we are still in a substantial type
Right.
situation.
But to be
Shut us down for, I mean, we need to
Right.
be back, I get it.
To be fair, there was a period in the fall where we were in that 3rd week of substantial and they were recommending to go virtual and we didn't. Then the number kind of went down and then, then in anticipation of it coming back up, we did what we did at Thanksgiving.
I would just really appreciate that if we had a clear set of rules that we could set forward, that what happens when we have an outburst or an increase in numbers.
Yeah.
I would like to see a set rule that if this happens, this is what our reaction would be.
Well, I can tell you 3 cases in either building is already established. And 3 cases and absolutely, that I would say, if there are 3 cases in this building goes virtual. If there's 3 cases in that building, we'll go virtual. Because those 3 cases are going to be the same thing. It's going to cause us 8 other quarantines or 5 other quarantines or whatever. So it's just logistically going to happen anyway.
I
But
would just like that to be out there, that we have a set standard, that
Yeah.
we have the ability to follow the rules that we're setting.
well, I can absolutely, the 3 case rule per building is what would shut us down.
Yes.
And there's a possibility that a case could be shared between the 2. So it may be 2 here and 1 person between, and that would, be the 1 building. And we would have to, see what the contact tracing said about the other building. If we have more than a few quarantines, quite honestly, we'll be in a situation where we can't maintain the coverage of children with adult supervision and maintain the spacing. We can't go, I can't now, in a normal year, if you had 15 kids in a classroom and a teacher was ill or something happened, I could take the 15 kids out of there and split them between the other 2 classes and it'd be all right. We can't do that now. So we could wind up like a grade level out where it'd be flexible with it, but more than likely it would be per building and not, because we share too much.
I just don't, I feel that there is no one in this room, there was no one in this district that doesn't want the kids back.
Right.
We just clearly wanted to be done in a safe manner.
Yep.
That is our concern. That is my concern.
I can tell you, if I didn't believe wholeheartedly that we can do it safely, and I hope that we can stay in and that we don't have, and you don't know where a case comes from and how quickly it spreads. This is a real tough one because, I was talking to a gentleman today. He and his family have it. There's 4 of them. All 4 of them have different symptoms. All 4 of them have the same thing, probably got from the same place or each other, and they all have 4 different symptoms. So it's a tough thing. And their youngest, who is an elementary student, really exhibits hardly any symptoms, but they know he's positive for COVID. So that's a challenge with the kids. It is.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, this is Matt Yoder. Just a couple of things that I have wanted to give my opinion about. I know it's probably not the most popular, but in my opinion, I think we send them back as soon as possible. I'd be willing to send them back tomorrow. And my opinion, I'm an educator. That's my profession. I know that. I know what it's like to be in the classroom. I know what education children need. But when it comes to medical, I follow doctors' advice and scientists, and I think everything we've done up to this point has been excellent. I appreciate everybody's recommendations and opinions, whether it be on one side or the other. But I look at the science. CDC recommended that all kids go back. The transmission rates among elementary and even high school is extremely minimal. They suggested it's even less so when maintaining masks and 6 feet distancing. It's even less than out in the public. When you look at our statistics for Columbia County, in January, we were over 700 cases per 100,000 people, which is extremely high. We are down to, as of last Saturday, and it has been steadily decreasing, 186 per 100,000. I would anticipate that to continue going down. I watch it every Saturday, the new results come out. Also, the percent positive at 10% were insubstantial. We are down to 12.5% last week, and that is from a high of 23% just a few weeks ago. Mm-hmm. So we're actually we're not just coming down, we're on a sharp decrease of the numbers. I think that's from just numerous things. We hit that post-holiday wave. People are getting vaccinated. My school has been in person the whole time, and I've had plenty of issues the way my school has handled certain things. But I will say that the elementary has never been out in a larger school than what we have here. And at the elementary, in the whole year, we've had maybe 3 staff members have to quarantine at the elementary level. And we're talking maybe 3 students in the whole. High school is a different beast for many different reasons. High school kids congregate outside of school. They tend to have more issues wearing masks than elementary kids, which is kind of hard to believe, but it is the truth. They rotate classes, so they're in multiple classes a day. As a teacher myself, I see 120 different kids a day at the high school. So again, the elementary is much more safe than the high school. But I personally think it's time to go back, everybody, because I feel that we're lucky here where we can maintain the 6-foot distance, even at the high school. I have a class in my own high school where I have 28 kids and I have 28 seats in that class. They're 6 inches apart from each other. We are lucky here that we don't have to deal with that. When it comes to the vaccine, again, I'm no medical professional, but I've done my due diligence in reading about it. After the first shot, the second shot is essentially like a booster. The first shot, you're essentially, you've gotten what you need to protect yourself from the virus. So I understand that the 22nd is only 7 school days away, but I'm happy with the elementary and how it's going, but I think that they need to get back. And I do share your concern. The junior high kids who are used to that elementary personal closeness with a teacher, compared to you're in 7th grade, you're switching classes. It's 7th grade is a big deal for a kid. It's very overwhelming, let alone going virtual. So, that is my opinion. I know it's probably not the most popular, but I just wanted to express, where I come from, why my opinion is what it is. I respect, your recommendation, but I personally would like to see kids back sooner than the 22nd. When it comes to the staff members and receiving vaccines, I received my first vaccine. I just had the only thing I had, and I don't even know if it was from the vaccine, I had a 6-hour headache. I get my second one in a couple weeks. But if we have a lot of staff members out next Tuesday, we can just close for the day. I mean, we can play it by ear. If we don't, we run school. But, you know, if we have 5, 6 people have, you know, I know a couple people who have been down and out for about 12 to 24 hours.
Mhm.
My wife, she's a medical professional. She had her second dose many weeks ago, and she had nothing. She had a 12-hour headache. She went to work she had it on a Sunday, and she was at work on a Monday. So that's just my opinion. I don't know if anybody else shares the same opinion, but again, whatever we do, you know, I respect whatever we end up doing.
Well, I mean, I can tell you that the reasoning for the 22nd is that all the data, following science, they still, the things that I've read and that I've heard and been part of conversation, it was a week after the second dose is when they considered people fully vaccinated. So that would be the week after. So I think that makes people feel better about it. You know what I mean? I have read the same kind of things where you're 85% really after the first dose, but I think people would like to feel 100%, you know, before they feel more confident in it. So that's the one reason for the 22nd. The other is just President's Day, the holiday. They're short weeks, so it's only it's 7 days. And then there is that concern that I had mentioned about, you know, we have people who have different reactions. You know, I had a little lump on my arm and I felt tired. You know, I felt tired a couple hours later, but that might have been just because it was a Monday, you know. But that being said, we did have some other people who did have some other reactions, and there was some concern in our admin meeting about that and having to adjust. No, we would keep the same schedule we have now, which we do have people coming into the high school for different things, pretty limited scope there. But the elementary, you know, it's a significant amount of the elementary has come back to take advantage of the every other day schedule. And so we hopefully we can maintain that week. Yeah.
Jake, this is Jake now. My question is, with the way we've been handling things, up to this date, how many staff cases and stuff have we gotten in the elementary school? And has come over to quarantine, teachers out and that kind of stuff? You know, that's both like 3 of them.
I'm trying to think how many have been actual cases versus quarantines. I'd have to get you the exact number. I don't want to say something that's not accurate, but I can tell off the top of my head there are 4 or 5 staff members since the beginning of the year have been quarantined out for, and those have been like 20-day quarantines. So that's pretty impactful.
So we've been doing what we've been doing, not even what he's saying about, but we're still over that number.
No, it's 3 at the same time.
Okay.
We haven't had 3 cases at the same time. It wasn't cumulative. It's at any one point.
Okay.
So over the course of this, between quarantines and confirmed cases and things we've known, and there were some over the holidays that, you know what I mean, which were, or we were remote, or we were out on the holiday vacation anyway. Yeah, we've had, I would say, upwards of 10 staff members who have been affected or quarantined or should have quarantined in some way.
So now, when we do come back, or if we do come back, like we're referring to coming back full as what we were doing in the fall.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
And so when we go virtual for those 2 weeks, because let's say we have 4 members come down, we have to shut the building down. And what about all the kids that we were ready to get back in because they needed personal instruction and everything that we've been trying to do since the last meeting, who will now be going back out to virtual until we can bring them back because.
Well, they wouldn't have to go a full 2 weeks out. There's a protocol for how many days based on the cases, and you clean. So ideally, you only have to shut down maybe 3 to 5 days, not like a full 2 weeks out. And I think if it's one building versus the other, we can. It's essentially they almost look at the building as a contaminated sort of hotspot that has to be decontaminated and cleaned, and you have to have so much time. And that's what I think you're seeing at other school districts where they're shutting down for 2 days, or they're closed on a Friday and then they're back in maybe on a Monday or Tuesday. They've been able to clean and do stuff over that 3 days, whether they're, how close they are on their numbers or what happened in specific cases, I'm not sure. But there've been multiple cases like that where you see a school shut down on Thursday and they're back open on Monday.
There's a
cleaning
matrix
protocol.
on PDE's, Pennsylvania Department of Education's website, and it's based on small tier, mid tier, and large tier schools. We are small tier.
Yeah.
If we have 3 cases within a trailing 14 days, we are shut down for 3 to 5 days.
Yeah.
And then, but if you have, I believe it's 5 cases or more, it's either 5 or 6.
Then you have to
within
extend
a trailing 14 days. The suggestion is to close for 14 days, and that's calendar days, not school days. So
ideally,
the
if you
whole-
catch the 3, you don't
Yeah.
wind up with the 5.
Exactly, you
You know.
only go out 3 to 5 days, and Jamie obviously would have contact with his Department of Health contact, and they kind of make the suggestion. All right, you close for 3 days and you go from there.
And I
That's
do
what we
think
did.
anybody with special needs or something, and hopefully it wouldn't happen in the elementary, if that building was closed, we can make some accommodations and use some other space for kids that really needed to come in on those other times. And we have a pretty solid, at least at the elementary level, I think we have a pretty solid grip on what kids are thriving with that intervention at this point. It's not intervention, it's back to the education, that's what we're giving them is what they need. And so it's odd that seems like an intervention sort of measure, but maybe it just does to me. But it's really not. It's just getting them back, on the track where they need to be.
George, go ahead.
Suggestion, I pretty much agree with Matt. Suggestion, I think probably would be a good idea is I would like to see him come back on the 17th. That gives 3 days, either the 17th or the 18th. That gives the teachers 2 or 3 days to get acclimated to having the full classes back. It gives the kids time to get acclimated to be back at full time. Also gives the teachers time to assess what kids need what. And then back 22nd, you're ready to roll. Take the 16th. That way you have the day after they get the second shots, who's not feeling well, who's feeling okay. Your staffing numbers at that point. I don't see any reason why not to bring them back on the 17th.
Again, George, my logic, and I don't, it's that all of the things about the inoculation is that it's a week after you get it is when you're actually.
But the first shot
inoculated.
is 85% after 2 weeks. You've been 2 weeks.
Right, I'm not asking for 85%, George, I'm asking for
You're
100%.
protected 85% with the first shot after
Sure.
2 weeks, which is the situation we're in right now.
Yeah.
So I don't see any reason to delay it anymore past the 17th. I'm sorry, but I don't. The science is there.
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from, but I would argue the science on the other end that says
Where?
a week after your second
Tell me the
shot.
science on the other end, because it's not there.
A week
They're
after your second
85%
shot.
protected after 2 weeks with the first shot. We haven't had any cases the last 2 weeks in the school, and we've had the kids in the school every day. Limited amount, sure.
Sure.
So we're even safer now than we were before because the teachers have their 2 weeks after their first shot. So why delay this?
Again, George, I think
Science
it's.
isn't there to back you up.
No,
Sorry, it's not.
I disagree with you, George. The science has been consistent throughout this that it's a week after your second shot is when you're vaccinated. Not 85% vaccinated.
You need to go on the CDC website then.
I will show you.
I
It is on
read
there.
it today, 2 weeks after the first shot with the Pfizer.
I
and Moderna,
absolutely agree with-
85%.
I agree with you 100%.
Okay,
That's what it
what's
says
the
after
deal
the
then?
first shot. After the second shot is when you are vaccinated a week
The second
after.
shot is what extends your virus, your protection.
Sure.
Okay, the first shot protects you within 2 weeks, 85%. The second shot is like Matt said, it's a booster that extends the length of time that you're protected from the shot. So that's the science. You can look it up it's on the CDC website, it's on PDE, it's on Pennsylvania Department of Health.
I agree with you. And if you read those, they all say the same thing. There's a reason why you get the second shot. And that is because a week after your second shot is when you are considered vaccinated and essentially inoculated 100%. Not, you know what I mean? Then there is essentially, not that there is zero chance, but there's essentially zero chance after that, if the vaccine works, which it is, 95+% efficacy rate, that you are then inoculated. And that's the goal, is to get people not partially, but 100% inoculated. That's my logic, George. And I want the kids back too. I want them back here.
My logic is that, our numbers are going down.
Yes.
The staff that wanted to be vaccinated has been vaccinated. They're good to 85% effectiveness right now. Okay? The booster, the second shot is a booster that extends the ability to lengthen it out. In other words, the first shot doesn't give you indefinite protection. The second shot is what gives you protection for maybe the rest of your life. Nobody really knows.
Sure.
It doesn't do much to make you more. Let's put it this way: it doesn't do that much to make you more protected.
That's not the way. Yeah, Joy, I'm not gonna sit here and argue with over it. My understanding of it, what has been consistently reported, the 2-shot system, there's a reason why, and it's a week after the second shot that they consider you vaccinated. So, I mean, the percentages of it, I'm not gonna argue with it. I've read some of the same stuff, and there's talk about not needing a second shot and some other things. Hopefully the Johnson vaccine's out soon. It's 1 shot and you're done. So, that might be a game changer too. But that's again the logic. And it's also to prepare the staff, to prepare everybody. This is when we can do it,
You answered the question.
Okay, being that we're still in substantial, we're going back in under substantial, you have to fill out certain paperwork saying that you are in-house, right?
Yeah, we had to change the attestation with the state from being 100% virtual to not 100% virtual. There's no in between. There's not.
You have to say
It's either you're going virtual out with some caveats to that were allowed within that, or you're not. That's already been changed and
there was
updated
a
with the
safety
state.
protocol letter that you have to sign saying that you're following a certain safety protocol by bringing the kids in at a substantial level.
Right.
Did you fill that paperwork out
Yes.
saying that we're in? Okay.
Yeah, it's the state attestation
As
form,
long as you said
and
yes, that's fine.
I changed that, and it was signed, and
Just
Yeah.
a question, if a student becomes sick in your class and you're fully vaccinated, are you quarantined? After the fact?
if you are, at this point, that changes none of the rules.
Yeah,
Being-
I don't think it necessarily, they don't know yet, to my knowledge,
I just-
that
Yeah.
I'm
prevents,
just-
you might have a vaccine, you can still transmit it. So,
Mhm.
yeah, you would most likely go out. The big thing with telling our teachers, because they have not worked in this environment yet with the heat, and I have, and it's very hard as a teacher, because I had to change the whole way I'm used to teaching. You gotta kind of stay away from kids.
Yeah.
And it's hard as a teacher. It's extremely difficult that, instead of me peering over a student's shoulder, I gotta maintain 6-foot distance, because the quarantine rule is if you are within 6 feet of a person for a cumulative 15 minutes, not consecutive anymore, then you are out
Yeah.
for a 10-day quarantine, unless you have a negative test that you can bring back.
I just one more question. The student that you were talking about today, which is an elementary student that is presumed positive.
Mhm.
How do you get contacted to say that they're positive? Does the CDC contact you and say you have a positive case in your elementary school, or does the parent have to tell you?
These are self-reported. We rely on the public to report to us. We can follow up sometimes with parents' permission. What we found, and this isn't just the Benton, this is all over the place. It's one of the challenges in reporting. And there's something going on, like Evan hospital had underreported, and so they have to adjust. But my understanding is that they initially were only reporting cases that it was a proven positive case. They swabbed your nose, they confirmed it, whatever. But now they're going back and saying, well, that person went home, and then their husband got sick and their children got sick. They never went and got tested. And so they sometimes weren't recorded. Now they're going back through and saying, well, yeah, there's no way that, Mr. or Mrs. didn't have COVID and their kids had COVID. Now they all quarantined, they did the right thing, but it wasn't recorded as 4 cases. It was only in their system sometimes as 1, because that test was never actually administered to the other 3, because there wasn't necessarily a point in it. Because it's not like they needed some special drug or treatment or they had to go to the hospital. So it wasn't actually recorded as 4 cases, it was recorded as 1 case. So, but to answer your question, because we rely on people to tell us.
Do we have after 3 days, we need a doctor's excuse?
But that's a standard policy if you're out sick, yeah.
Okay, so if a student was out for 3 days, we would require.
We'd be tracking them down anyway.
Then we'd be tracking them down to find out if they do have a case.
Yeah.
That's all. I don't want somebody, it's like, I don't want to tell you that my son has COVID,
Yeah.
and then now there's 4 or 5 other people that are doing this, and we should be shut down, but nobody's
Yeah.
telling anybody.
Well, and I think fortunately so far, and again, I don't think this is just specific to Benton, people have been pretty forthright. I mean, people aren't trying to hide a case of COVID so that they can play in a basketball game or something. I don't put that past anyone, unfortunately, that could happen. But I think the experience generally has been that people take it seriously. They understand that the ramifications of spreading this to others can be much more serious than even whatever symptoms they may feel. So
do we have a
people have been-
policy if a student is showing symptoms that in order for them to come back to school, that the nurse, will tell
Yeah,
them,
they need
"You
to go get a
must have
test." Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
because I mean, personally, I'm a high school teacher and I see it a lot. We got kids, they have a little bit of a fever and they're losing their taste. Clearly,
Yeah.
the taste is
Yeah.
like the number 1 sign. And, in my school, it's, you need to go home, you probably have it, you cannot come back until you have a negative test.
Or you are symptom free for X days.
Yes, 10 days or
Yeah,
whatever it
and
is.
so that's what's straight from our nurses.
Okay.
Yes, all right. I just want to read this to you, okay? This is the latest from the FDA. Pfizer BioNTech COVID-19 vaccine is safe, effective, and starts working within about 2 weeks of the first dose, according to the latest information from the Drug Administration. So you are wrong with your science.
George,
It's right
what
there.
does it say about the second dose, George?
It says it's effective within 2 weeks of the first dose.
Okay,
The
85%.
second dose is a booster to extend the length of time that you are protected.
And George, my recommendation is that we come back a week after the second dose, which in all the things I've read says that that's when you're vaccinated.
Well, I just.
I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying, George. I've read the same thing, and there's a constant studies going on, and it goes back to the question of, do you have to quarantine if you had your vaccination, then can you spread it? Well, there's a lot of anecdotal stuff saying you probably aren't very likely to spread it after that.
There's a
but
lot
there's
of
no
stuff we
proof.
don't know. But until we bring the kids back into the school and start getting back to normal, we don't know what we're going to face. We could keep putting this off and putting this off because, maybe this is going to happen, maybe that's going to happen.
I get it, George. I'm not
We
putting it
don't-
off
we
past the
don't know.
22nd.
We could come back full time and in 2 weeks there's a big spike and we'd have to shut back down again. But why not go now? Why not come back now? There's no reason in the world not to put them back in now.
I think, honestly, George, for the 50-some people who went and got vaccinated and who sat there and talked to the clinicians, what they were told, what has been consistent, is that they will feel vaccinated after their second dose, a week after the second dose, because that's what it says. I mean, and that information has been consistent too, George.
Just read it to you. I don't know.
Okay.
Carl. Dave Lipinski. I'm also right now going to quote from the FDA, which basically says as of February 15th. The Pfizer BioNTech, after 21 days of the first dose, you were 53% protected. After the second dose, you are at 95% protected. With the Moderna, which most people got, after the first dose, you are 70% protected. And after the second dose, you're at 94%. Now, here's my whole concept. If I am going to work for $1 or for 95 cents, I don't want to accept 53 cents. Okay, we're talking a week.
Yeah.
We're talking a week to double the confidence and the safety of our students and our people and our staff. I want the kids back too, but I do not want to be going to a funeral because we were playing with numbers and how close we
I
came.
don't want
Because
to
that's
go to a
what you're
funeral
doing.
either. And
You
know
are
why?
quoting
Because
things
not
that are
having
right here.
kids in school is making the people that have to watch them while the parents work more exposed to the virus than having them in school during the day. We control those kids the whole day. We separate them. We put masks on
We are
them.
talking a week. We
You
are
want to talk about
talking
being guilty?
5
How
days.
about being guilty if I get it because I have to watch my grandson because he's not in school?
So where are you going that there's an issue if you're responsible? Are you going to work?
Do you think that parents are quarantining their kids at home?
No, I am
They're
not.
taking them
They
to
are
grocery
doing the
stores.
best they
You got
can. What I am
single
simply
parents
trying to say, we
that
are at
have to
1
take their
week.
kids somewhere.
We are at 1 week and we're
Look,
back.
we could argue this all night. I think what we ought to do is say, do we support the superintendent or not? And I do, I support the superintendent. I think he's made wonderful decisions so far, and he's got all the information at his fingertips. I think he's the one that should be making the decision. I think it's in his job description that he's the one that makes the decision.
Well, I appreciate that, and I appreciate where you're coming from, George, and I get
understand
that part of the science. I do, we are sympathetic to all those other issues. That's why we do want to bring the kids back. But I can't in good conscience change the recommendation from the 22nd. I think that's my understanding of the science. So that's my report. Okay?
When you announce the 22nd, can you say that this is a day by day?
Absolutely, and it is conditional. That's an ideal sort of thing. But obviously, if something drastic changes, I hope that doesn't. I hope the trends are, as we follow this, we have followed the science here. I think all these things are consistent with trying to follow that. But that is subject to change.
What is our next board meeting, do you know? Okay, so.
This would be between
Can
now and
we,
then,
let's establish we're going back on the 22nd, and then if something changes, let's prepare for that.
Yeah.
Unlike what we
That's
did-
that's what I'm saying. I would like to prepare to come back the 22nd,
Right.
plan it out, put that information out to the public within the next week or so, get the teachers all ready for that, encourage them all to make sure they go get their second shot. Those who haven't gotten it, we continue to encourage and look for opportunities for them.
Right, I mean, I just
you know.
don't want it to be like tonight was, as we essentially kind of put the 8th, but it wasn't, we're gonna definitely go back to 9.
Right.
I'd like for this to be, we're going back.
Yeah, that's the plan is to come back to
If there's a
22nd.
substantial change, I'm sure.
Yeah, and obviously, if there is.
And I would say at this point, it would have to be something very significant.
Correct.
And it would be something that would be in the papers or something, some crazy spike in the cases, something unforeseen
Okay.
that would be drastically, you know what I mean? That would make us really have to say there's something wrong here, that this plan is not safe.
Just once again, to just make sure this is heard again. When you say going back, you mean to the model we were in the fall?
Yes.
The distancing and
Yes.
masks and such. So-
5 days a week, kids are welcome to come to
There
vote.
might be a cutoff in certain grades, in certain areas when we get numbers of students that.
Yeah, the same as we did in the fall. We had to adjust stuff around to keep our numbers where they need to be so that we maintain the 6 feet, because that was a priority. But we were fortunate that we rarely had those. Here we did. We didn't really have it in the elementary.
Did we gain anyone back in the elementary that was virtual in the fall?
I'm sure we have.
I don't know if,
I'm just saying, are we?
It's
gonna
very
be-
likely, yes, but
Are we
I
gonna
don't.
be hurt in a couple classes that we gain kids back?
We have 50 to 60 students out. I don't anticipate them returning.
Well, we had that
At this
discussion back in the
point.
fall, I remember with Jill, about what if we have everybody come back? And even in
Mhm.
that worst case, I believe with the exception of fifth
That's correct.
grade,
Right.
that one was looking like 18, 19-ish.
Yeah, that was
But
tight.
everybody else, like even if everybody came back, the numbers were looking pretty good.
And there were some creative ways those teachers were able to move kids, cycle around a little bit and stuff. So. Okay. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Okay. Any more comments, questions? Okay. Move on then.
Oh, Carl, one more thing.
Yes, sir.
I think we need to post that as soon as possible on our website.
We can do that. Yeah, we'll get that information out.
And that way gives people a chance to.
Yeah, for them to prepare as well.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just want to add my 2 cents to the word. What makes Mr. Get's decision so difficult is we have quite a few days when we don't have school between now and the 22nd. If you look at it, today was a teacher conference day, Friday is a holiday, Monday is a holiday. Right? So there's not a lot of time. Any time plans for how this is going to come down, what we need to do in school. I actually think it's a very well thought out plan.
And I honestly, I can't take credit 100%. We worked it through our administrative team. We spent several hours last week, looked at this from all angles, and this was the collective wisdom of the group, I guess. So I have to give credit to the principals and our other directors who weighed in, and I think overall it is the best path forward, and that's why I recommend it.
All right, we'll move on then. The middle senior high school principals report. You have it on your computer. I don't know, is Jen on board?
Yes, I'm here.
You want
I'm
to
here.
add anything, or right ahead?
I just wanted to talk about the new engineering career and technical program that we started this school year. Mario Tombasco is our teacher, and he is running this program. Students will be able to accumulate hours to take the NOCTI exam over the span of their high school career. So far, it's been a great success. He's seeing nearly 50 students in his classes, in addition to he's seeing every 8th grade student and getting them exposed to engineering. The kids are really enjoying it. Some of the courses that he's running are Intro to Engineering, Programming, Electronics, and Energy, Transportation, and Power. And he will build upon that for next year since he had students begin it this year. So I just wanted to let you know that we are offering that here now at Benton, and it's going really great. Our classes are nearly full in all of his class courses. So I just wanted to say that Mario's doing a great job, and we're happy to have him.
Any questions for Jen?
All I would say, this is Lance Wolf, is that I think for next year, we ought to publicize that. So that if we have any of our neighboring districts would like to send students, we can do it.
Alrighty, move on then to the elementary school principal's report. I know Jill is not with us tonight. I don't believe we have a report, so I will move on then to special education director report. Lindsay, I see you're on the phone.
Yep, I'm here. So we're holding a team meeting tomorrow afternoon with myself, the school psychologist, our speech language therapist, and Title I teacher to discuss our early intervention students who are transitioning into kindergarten next year. And then on February 19th, we have the official EI meeting with the early intervention program supervisor from the IU and each parent of a transitioning student to let them know what testing we're proposing and to discuss services and available placement options that we have within the district. And that is all I have for tonight.
Any questions for Lindsay? Okay. Move on then to the technology director's report. You can come closer here. Oh, wait,
Right here.
I'm sorry. Or he's not here, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, right, sorry.
So, he said something.
Then we'll move on to Jim's report, the Director of Maintenance, Buildings and Grounds.
So just a quick update on the baseball field purchase. We're still waiting for the variance to be approved by the borough. They have another one they're waiting for, and they'll have strong working in. We'll get those completed. Once that process is done, the surveyor will be issuing us a set of drawings that will be approved by the school and by the Benton borough.
To explain it to the board what that variance involves.
Also, the variance was to purchase the property where we were going to put the property line. It did meet the distance setback of 30 feet between the grandstand and the rest of the park. So that's what we're doing. So once we get the variance, we get the signed map from the surveyor, we get them notarized, and they go to Columbia County for approval. So just a quick update on the Siemens is working on the ionization project. Unfortunately, it's a very costly project. It'll depend on CARES Act funding that will possibly be coming in the spring. They will hopefully have the final price for us by our next meeting. But this is just another piece of the puzzle to keep our students and staff safe. We put into our UV units, our air handlers, to help scrub the air, to keep the virus, bacteria levels at acceptable rates.
That's cool. Jim, could you send something out to the board members on the technical issue of that, how it works? How this,
Yep.
Give me an email.
Yeah, I don't know if it's still on paper. There's some local school districts that have started this process.
I heard that, yes.
Yep.
And I've heard some pros and cons of ionization.
Yeah, there's so many things out in the market right now. You've got UV lighting, you've got the portable units, you've got ear boxes. You're getting flooded with all kinds of alternatives, and it all comes down to what the available funding we're going to have.
This is Michael. Is there a large cost for maintaining that or running that in the future? Like, it's something that it's not just for this coming year, right? It's something that's going to be.
No, it's something that will be continuous. It'll be in our units. The nice thing about it is there's just very low maintenance. It's more of just a quarterly, you check on, maybe just a little cleaning with some cloth. But other than that, hopefully, if we can afford it, it'll hook right into the system we have. We'll go right back to our automation in the main building. We'll be able to tell if the unit in your classroom is working or not working. We can go out and fix it. But unfortunately, it comes at additional cost. But we'll see if that's something, if that's an option. So, yeah.
So what's the lifespan of these units?
As far as I know, they last a long time because there's not a lot of maintenance on these units. So,
Would it be transferable if we bought the units to replace aging stuff?
yeah, because
They're add-ons.
they're all add-ons. So I think some of them are magnetic, some of them are just tapped on or drilled to the side of the units and just wired coils. So it'd be something if we were had to, we could take them out and move to another unit. Especially if we had classrooms that had, like we wanted to focus more on the cafeterias, auditoriums where kids are gathered during the day. So that would be an option. I also had a welder come in on Friday. We're looking into, he's the same welder who put in the catwalk system at Bioplant. So he's looking into putting a ladder system into in the Bioplant. There's a very steep ladder that goes down into the wood pellet bin area where we bring our deliveries in every week. Unfortunately, we did have an accident last year there, so we're looking into options of what we can do to make that safer so no one else gets hurt. And I don't know if you noticed, before it got dark, our panel truck's missing. So it's down getting the graphics put on it right now. So hopefully we'll be able to see that at the next meeting. That's all I have tonight. Questions? Okay. Thank you, Jim.
On to administrative action. Number one. Motion and a second to approve administrative items A through C. Okay. School calendar. School for 2021-2022 school calendar as presented with the document. B. school/booster club fundraiser. Approve the following school booster club fundraiser. A, LR Apple PTC Krispy Kreme bonus, February 22nd, March 12th, 2021. C, monetary donation, accept a $37.50 donation from Phillips Emporium, Bloomsburg, PA, Benton area school district. So moved.
Carl, excuse me, if I may, on our calendar, and I know it's just an addendum, but in the red section, we have, I want to say September 24th to the 30th of September, and then October 1st. We don't have that marked out on that Friday on the 24th on the calendar. And I'm just curious, what days, are we visually looking at the calendar, or are we looking at the days? We need a clarification on that. And we're still saying that Bloomsburg Bears with the fire.
Well, we certainly, debate that again. We had a lot of students involved over the years, especially our agriculture kids, and a lot of art. They're sort of across the board. We had a lot. But I guess, something to review again and look at what we project. I think originally it was a lot about absent students, and just trying to move pace somewhere else. But
It wasn't necessarily, it was absenteeism, but allowable absenteeism, because the band goes for a day, FFA goes for a couple of days. It's just that the classes that were being taught to a lesser amount of kids than what was there. And it was just determined that it was better off just to take the whole week off, because, like I said, you have the FFA going for 2 or 3 days, you have the band going on a different day, and just different things like that.
yeah, well, and I think we had worked at an educational experience. But it's certainly something to talk about again. I get what you're
And it's, everything that you mentioned is at the secondary level, so we can check the opportunity to make a second work at the elementary school level. It's a large loss of time. But I
just talked it over with Eric. It should say, I'll talk about break tomorrow. It should say the 27th to the 1st, not the
right.
the 24th. That was just
I was just looking at it, I'm not sure where we were,
Yeah,
because it spans 2 months.
yeah. I'll
Where-
talk
where
with
it's at.
Brady tomorrow. It should say the 27th to the 1st.
What was the one, we get a second for the.
Second.
You see, what were the changes to the calendar from the last one?
This is the new school year calendar.
This is this year's.
This is for the 21-22 school year.
This is the upcoming school days.
Any further discussion on item B?
This is my vote. Is that a possible way that we can tie in? We've been well practice this year, virtual learning, this an opportunity to use that where our students who opt to go to the fair could make up that work virtually during those days, but maybe not during the school days.
That's a great opportunity. Yeah, no, I think that's a great idea.
Meanwhile, the elementary,
Yeah, no, I think it's certainly a subject we can, bring up and hash something out a little bit, but that's a great, it is a great opportunity to take advantage of some of the lessons learned this year, the whole fly, so we still have something we can do to forward. But I do think that there is still work. I'm sure we can have a lively discussion about it, and then we can amend the calendar accordingly.
But we'll still have them 5 days off, because it's still June 5th or June 6th or whatever the end date is, the last day. So at some point in the school calendar, that 5 days would be made up some, or by taking off.
Or we can end the calendar early.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I don't really know how I feel about it yet, but, you can, I will say this, I do know every day is valuable at the elementary level when it comes to testing. And the more days you get in before testing is better. And it probably won't be so bad, maybe you're looking at getting out of school for summer before Memorial Day. I don't know. I don't know how I feel. I think back to Mr. Wolf, if there's one thing we learned, that we don't have to learn high school and elementary calendar is exactly the same. We always have, but there is opportunity here to make some adjustments. And you want to provide a family day or two at the elementary level for them to go experience there. I'm never going to say that there isn't a lot of educational value, whether everyone takes advantage of the educational value of the parent or not. There's certainly a lot of great stuff to see, and the educational and the activities, and all of the, if you don't spend time in the brick buildings while you're there, you're not, taking those tools. But no, I think, again, I think there's a lot to talk about there.
Any other comments on A through C?
Mr. Hess,
Yes.
Mr. Lipinski,
Yes.
Mr. Osborne,
Yes.
Mr. Poe,
Yes.
Mr. Wolf,
Yes.
Mr. Yoder,
Yes.
Mr. Knaus,
Yes.
Mr. Griffith.
Yes.
Okay, items A through C are approved. Bruce, you want to take the athletic committee?
I'd like to make a motion through items A through E. Item A, resignation, accept the resignation of Christy Valentinsky as a head field hockey coach effective February 4th. Resignation, accept the resignation of Calvin Wolf as assistant junior high girls soccer coach effective February 4th. Volunteer coach, approve Calvin Musser as volunteer high school girls soccer coach for the 2021 school year. Pending the successful completion of all mandated courses. Approve Corey Nichols as the assistant junior high girls soccer coach at step 1 of $500 for the 2021 school year. Pending successful completion of all mandated courses and training. And a step change, approve the step change of Ken Lewis, assistant junior high boys basketball coach, step 1 salary of $500 to step 7, $800. Note to, this is due to past coaching experience. I might have said Calvin Wolf in the first presentation. I put that on the second. Yeah, I'll go the motion in second. So move.
I'll second. Discussion on A through E.
Just curious, Carl Davidinsky. And E, what is the criterion for past coaching?
Okay, Matty emailed the athletic committee, and Ken had actually taught here prior
It was, okay,
at Benton.
okay.
It was numerous years. It was more than 5. I believe in
quite a few.
It was a long time ago, but it was in the district.
Because I know we had that with basketball.
Yeah.
Past,
Yes, that's,
we had issues. I was just curious.
that was here in 1993 to 1998.
Sounds good.
Any additional discussion? Roll call vote.
Mr. Lipinski,
Yes.
Mr. Osborne,
Yes.
Mr. Poe,
Yes.
Mr. Wolf,
Yes.
Mr. Yoder,
Yes.
Mr. Knaus, Mr. Griffith.
Yes.
Mr. Hess.
Yes.
Items A through E are approved. Moving on to building to ground. Dave?
We just have one or two things. On the 29th last month, Mr. Hartburn, myself, Mr. Canals around both the buildings, and we found exceptionally well maintained and taken care of for some of these facilities that we had that were so late, or so, aged. The only thing I would like to add into that, we discussed the concept of we need to do something with the records that are now stored in the green building. It's a fire hazard, or it's not very safe the way it is. If something happens in that building, we will be at a loss to debris with everything we have of past knowledge. And the third thing I'd like to ask, I've been approached by, I guess it would be the Teener baseball group that uses the baseball field that we could soon take ownership of. And they're curious what ramifications a different ownership of the field would have versus different organizations that are available to use it.
They would follow the schedule modification. We have group schedule modification. So something like theater league, like Boy Scouts, anything like that, was predominantly our children. They're non-profit. You know, we ask them to do certain things on the field, but as long as they don't do anything, we just we don't charge for. Other things that would be like for-profit would be like Group B, but still the community thing. There's a charge. We have to sketch it out. And then there's the whole thing if somebody wanted to use our auditorium for a for-profit concert or something to make money, then we would charge for it.
They would have to go through.
They would follow
The athletic
the
director.
No, the high school principal for building usage. It would be the high school principal would be the building usage one.
So Ms. Allen was we're given the designation of, I think it would be Group A or.
So we're definitely not showing the community yet.
No.
That's
That's totally legal.
people would like it.
We would not line the fields for them to do something.
They would have access.
Yeah, they'll line it. And they buy their own line.
That's all I have.
Get back to storage of those records. Is
Yes.
it possible that we can look at any offsite storage?
I am not totally sure. Some of that material, I believe, is back in the 20s and 30s, and it's already disintegrating. I do know currently that people will come in and they put it on microfilm or something like that. I am just seeing a very large fire hazard, and then heaven forbid we lose someone's records and they need something for a job.
I was just thinking that maybe offsite storage as far as fire would be a little
There's a lot of
safer.
records that's going off-site.
Yeah, it is not a slight amount. It's a very large amount. Pretty much has been Benton. It goes back that
I mean,
far.
are we able to convert it to electronic? The move is to scan it and keep it electronically, and then they actually shred it. So the companies that specialize in that, and Erica and Joe were both reaching out. But I was we did this in Berwick, you know, and then every couple of years did it again as the record went up, and you have to keep so much. I don't know how many years off it, I forget, but all this stuff past X years old. Berwick was keeping the paper file, and then every couple of years, taking those last 2 years from the back end, scanning them, and then shredding them.
Wolf's ended up in a large issue at the Thomas building a few years ago that they had a fire, and they lost quite a bit of information. I don't think it's in a very safe situation, and if we were able to reduce it, that would give you an awful lot more room to work with in that building, that it could be put to better use.
And we have to keep so many years of work legally. I think the idea, though, is not whatever we don't have to keep. Ideally, I would recommend that we still try to scan that and preserve that information, even if we're not legally required to, because this is a public archive. It's history, and I think there's value to that in the community. Plus, it's way more accessible today. It's so much easier to scan through and find, and they'll store it on the cloud, and we have, you know, yeah, it just, you know, makes the information more accessible, and arguably then more valuable. So we're in the process of talking to a couple companies that do that, and we're going to go back and see. I think the initial might be expensive, there's a lot to go through, but we can break that up in a year, we do whatever we have to. And go from there. But it's absolutely something to address.
Other comments about building ground? One, financial insurance, George.
I need a motion in a second to approve Central Susquehanna Intermediate Unit 2021 to 2022 preliminary general operating budget in the amount of $702,660. There's an attachment. Approval of the CSIU's preliminary spending plan does not obligate any district purchase CSIU programs and services for 2021.
So moved.
Second. Discussion on item number one.
Has there been, Lipinski, has there been an increase percentage-wise?
No. I mean, their budget is, doesn't affect us. Yeah, it's a la carte, right?
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, it's just more balanced. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Osborne,
Yes.
Mr. Bowe,
Yes.
Mr. Wolf,
Yes.
Mr. Yoder,
Yes.
Mr. Knaus,
Yep.
Mr. Griffith,
Yes.
Mr. Hess,
Yes.
Mr. Lipinski.
Yes.
Okay, item number one is approved.
Can I ask a question? With the proposed government, or governor's budget of increasing the minimum wage to $12, is there any way that you could give us like what that would impact us for next year's budget? With the amount of hours and the increase in wages, just to give us a kind of a glimpse into next year's financial problem?
Yeah, I can put something together. We have a finance meeting later this week. I'm just not sure. I mean, I could just ask everybody that's under $12 at $12, but we probably have to go back and forth about that.
Just to give a lump sum, saying, it's gonna cost us $100,000 more, maybe it costs us $25,000. I don't know. But we need to know that going into the next budget cycle, because it's gonna be a huge one, possibly.
How would you want that? Just a year, or do you want to project it out?
Just like, what's it gonna be for the next year's budget? Just like, say, we have so many aides, so many, staff, and they run 1,000 hours, it's gonna be $5, that's 5,000. How many hours time? It's something simple, nothing.
It could be significant.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think we need to start thinking about it now, because there's nothing we can do about it. I mean, it's just something that's we're gonna have to absorb in our next budget. It's like, we're already. So just a
That's a big.
rough, real rough.
If it gets
Yeah, if it gets passed.
Good comment. All right. Non-personnel land. Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve personnel items A and B as listed. A, resignation, accept the resignation of Emily Woodheiser, A, effective February 10th, 2021. B, bus driver, approve Stanley Tripley's bus driver for the 2020-2021 school year.
Second.
Any discussion on item number one? Roll call vote.
Mr. Bowe,
Yes.
Mr. Wolf,
Yes.
Mr. Yoder,
Yes.
Mr. Knaus,
Yes.
Mr. Griffith,
Yes.
Mr. Hess,
Yes.
Mr. Lipinski,
Yes.
Mr. Osborne.
Yes. Okay, item number one, A and B is approved. Move on to policy.
I don't have anything at this time. Hopefully get back to policy.
All right, move on to supply transportation committee. Kathleen's not here. Jake or George, you have anything you want to add?
Not at this time.
All right. And move on then to the health and safety committee.
Textbook.
Curriculum.
My printer print these things, I get a page, at the bottom of my page.
It's textbooks and curriculum there.
I don't have anything, but I do have a question. I guess I'll direct this at you, Jamie. Next year, if everything's back to normal and we're on our full schedule, our 5 days, what are our plans with this accelerate ed?
We would probably maintain a small license with them, but not a protein license, because we had the COVID pricing and that goes away, so the cost jumps up pretty substantially. We're using a lot of the platforms that our teachers have created, I think, for cyber in and out, and I don't think we would continue on with that. Now, our cyber platform is different. It's not AE. AE is just for security. But we would maintain our own, and I would say our own, so we might do something, right? There's 10 other things that I want to say is other than that. That's what we would use as a Benton program, and I would think we would continue with that. So I'd say that will go away, but there may be some other engagement. Jill has been talking with the guy who back and forth about those things, but it looks like we could do it.
I would say that maybe we should probably have a meeting with Jill coming up, because I know post-elections are coming up probably in the next month. That would be, I mean, I know most schools do, March-ish, or even maybe before. And we can also talk about what we might need to purchase for next year and so forth.
And just one thing on curriculum, next year, if we're back to normal, all of the plans we make for this year about, departmentalizing in the elementary school and those things that we were restricted from doing in the class size ago, we're going to go back to that. That's still the plan. That was still to address the children. I think we had a great plan. We had teachers on board, and then obviously COVID disrupted that. And we sort of went back to the locked in the classroom sort of thing for safety. So there are some significant changes, not necessarily curriculum-wise, but structure-wise, and how we would be utilizing that. And I think Joel's very keen to get that project back on track.
Move on into the health and safety committee, Matt.
I don't have anything in addition to what we, talked about earlier.
On to our home CPC.
I received the email today from the light bulb director informing me that Senate Bill number 109 has been passed. That's a $20 million bill for contributions to career and technical centers, other public schools. And the distribution of that will be based on current CTE formula. The only question I have on that, we continue to know. Will we share in that because of the location? Or is it to be here?
Possibly. I have to investigate. Yeah, sometimes they carve those out just to see just to stand alone, so it's probably targeted to that, but there may be an opportunity.
Yeah. Check out.
I guess I'll have to read how it's worded.
Yeah, I guess that's something that did.
Yeah, I'll look into it.
Okay. Thank you.
One into the CSI report. Captain's not here. Not aware of anything. Move on to unfinished business. Do we have any unfinished business? Quite good business. Move on to the opportunity for visitors to address the board. And if you wish to speak, you can't raise your hand. You just have to say, indicate you want to say something. I'll qualify you. Make some comments for 3 minutes, and please state your name and your address if you want to speak. Do we have any takers from the audience?
I am.
You might have to, because they're not able to raise their hand, you might have to just go down each one and click allow to talk. I'm not sure. They all should have their class.
They should be able to raise it.
Yeah. Open it up. That's a great idea. Open them up to speak.
Just need one by one.
Or
Or just allow to talk. Just want me to let you for each one?
I want down each one of them. What do you feel?
This is keep like
Yeah.
that they brought.
were all last time meeting. Looked like this meeting. Should be able to.
It looks to me like the mics are open for the entire audience who wanted to say something. I suggest you just speak up if I can't see pretty hand. Okay. We'll set there. This time I'll set the motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second? Second. It's 8:01. Board meeting, of the veterinary school board. Adjourned.
Maybe just find it out, you know, like say, instead of it, the whole $12, maybe per hour. If the inflation of dollars, or how many hours.
Well, just say whoever-
You know,
Whoever's less than $12, I'll do the difference and then how much more they pay.